Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is your Manchester United Transfer News Daily, where we give you all the latest Manchester United transfer news with that real community United Stand fan appeal. I must just say, first of all, there's a few people who've been... I don't think they understand the Transfer Daily, even though we've been doing it for about 4 years now. We're not telling you these things are going to happen. We're talking about transfer stories and giving it our real opinion. Just to let you know. Anyway, first of all, this has happened. It's from Italy. It's quite big news that Mino Raiola, the agent of Paul Pogba, has been suspended until August the 9th as an agent. And this includes Europe. So this is a sort of breaking news. There may be some developments as you're watching this video. But effectively... Does that mean Paul Pogba staying at Manchester United? Does that mean De Ligt is staying at Ajax? Does that mean Verratti stays at PSG? He has a number of clients, and my initial... Well, look, Paul Pogba could leave Manchester United on August the 10th, but our transfer window is shut then, so that doesn't help us. So it could be a bad thing. He could challenge the ban and maybe getting it upheld till September or something like that. I don't know, but it is interesting because I think a lot of people think that Paul Pogba will leave Manchester United, but if he doesn't have an agent, how does he leave Manchester United? So I would say at the moment, for those people who want Pogba to stay at United, it's looking positive. I mean, my first thought was, well, just get a Mino Raiola minion. I wouldn't imagine what they would look like to do the deal, and really the money goes to him, but that's bypassing the suspension. So I think if the suspension is upheld, it makes it very interesting as to how Paul Pogba could leave Manchester United. So keep an eye on that. Ed Woodward might be rubbing his hands. Do you think Pogba should stay or go? As I said last night, personally, I'm not sure that Paul Pogba is what Manchester United need for a rebuild. We won't put the right players around him. I don't really think he wants to be here, so if we could have got a decent wage for him this summer, fee for him this summer, I was expecting him to go. But maybe he's going to stay now, so we'll have to wait and see with that. But let's get into the transfer news then. We're going to start off with Nicolas Pepe of Lille. He is currently tearing it up in Lille. Interesting that the story I was reading is that Arsenal quite fancy signing him. Maybe they'll have Champions League football, I don't know. But... I think we've got a problem there because he's definitely not 25, and we haven't put the transfer. I didn't put the transfer fee on purpose, but there's no way Nicolas Pepe is 25. I think he's 22, 23. Get your answers in the bottom there. But he is definitely having a very good season for Lille. He's second top scorer in France. Plays on the right wing, basically, as a right forward. Very tricky, can run at people. Good. He's a good creator as well, and obviously he can score goals. So it'd be a very, very good signing. Now, transfer fee I've left empty because it's not easy to predict how much. Lille apparently wants 65 million, and apparently Arsenal have only got 40 million to spend all summer. 40 million. I mean, we should be way ahead then. That just shows how bad we are that they've got nothing to spend and they're still finishing above us. But. He would be a good signing. A lot of you like him, but there's always been this feeling he was going to go to Bayern Munich. However, Sport Bild in Germany yesterday, who were quite reliable in relation to Bayern Munich, have said that Pepe will not be going to Bayern Munich, which closes off another door. So could he come to Manchester United? He is that sort of player that, coming from Lille, Manchester United would be a step up, point to prove, coming into the Premier League, loads of goals in him, be a very interesting signing. He's done it at a less fashionable team. He's not doing it for Lyon or Marseille or PSG, he's doing it for Lille. So it would be a decent signing, I think, for Manchester United, and one that potentially is open. How much we'd have to pay for him, I don't know, but I think for a player of his quality, those people who've been keeping an eye on him would happily pay 50 million for him. So keep an eye on Pepe. He could, maybe, I always thought he was going to Munich, but it doesn't look like that's happening, so it opens up a door. Talking about doors, not jaws, dun dun. João Felix. It's weird with João Felix, or João Felix. Very good season for Benfica. Scored a lot of goals, got a lot of assists. There's a couple of things about this. One, he basically plays as a support striker. I'm tempted to say he's more forward than a number 10, which we don't use, and we definitely don't use a support striker. We have played 5-3-2, but I think you need two forwards for that. João Felix is somebody that sort of plays in behind as a sort of, remember when Mata used to be a number 10. So I don't know whether he fits Manchester United. On top of that, his release clause is around £100 million. So would you be comfortable with United spending £100 million on a 19-year-old who is basically a support striker that we don't currently use? I don't see us doing this, but we are heavily linked to him, and we're heavily linked to Bruno Fernandes, and Man City are linked to both. Would Manchester City sign both players? Are United going to get one? Which would you prefer? It's interesting to see. But for me, unless United are going to totally transform how they play over the summer, it seems a lot of money for a player that really wouldn't fit in with how we've been playing ever. And we've never really had that sort of a support striker number 10, even going back to Sir Alex Ferguson. So I just don't know, unless we're going to do something amazingly new, and doing something amazingly new for a £100 million player who is 19, it could work, but again, it's a risk. Do we need to do that? I don't know. I don't think we will do, but we do keep getting linked to him. So if you like Felix, there you go. He can play other positions. He could play off the right and off the left, but then you're doing what we've done with Mata and Kagawa and Mkhitaryan, and you're turning a central player into an inverted winger, and do you get the best out of him? He's not lightning fast. He's not really a winger. He needs to play centrally. So, yes. And this player, I'm glad to bring him back in, Lorenzo Pellegrini. Not glamorous. Had a couple of people messaging me about it yesterday saying he'd be good as a backup player, he'd be good as a squad player. I actually think that Lorenzo Pellegrini, if he could adapt from Italy to the Premier League, it'd be a good signing. He's 6'2". He can play anywhere in a midfield three. He can play the CDM role, box to box, or as a more attacking midfielder. His attacking assets are he's good at getting into the box. He's got a good shot on him. But I'd say his major assets are his I nearly said runability. His stamina, his ability to win the ball back and do something with it. Effectively, I think he would be sort of a Herrera sort of replacement, because we're going to lose Herrera, and it would all come down to whether he can adapt to the Premier League. And this is a bit similar to Barella at Cagliari. A similar sort of player, both up and coming Italian midfielders, both caps for the national team. The interesting thing with Pellegrini is that he does have a £30 million release clause, which would mean he'd be about £27 million. There's an element of risk to this, of course there is, but what I would say is I'm not going to be hypocritical on these sort of signings if we do them, because Pellegrini at 22, I think he's 23 this summer, and I think Barella's around the same age, and Nicolas Pepe's around the same age. All those players, although they're not playing in the Premier League, they are all playing at clubs where Manchester United, regardless of whether we're in the Emmerdale Cup or not, would be seen as a step up for their career. They wouldn't be coming in, like I was talking about last night, demanding 300 grand a week. They'd be coming in, around what you'd expect to play a player like that, 100 grand a week. Hunger, desire, young, development. That is what Manchester United need to be doing. So when I talk about Nicolas Pepe and when I talk about Lorenzo Pellegrini or Barella, these are the sort of players that I think Manchester United should be looking at. And as I said last night, there's talk that these are the sort of players that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to sign. And I'll keep saying this as well. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is an inexperienced, naive manager. That's not a criticism. He is naive. He's going to be naive until he works his way through these situations. He had a great 3 months. Everything was great. He's had a bad 2 months, and he will learn more from that bad 2 months than he will do the good 3 months. And that naivety will disappear the more he learns. But he is inexperienced, and I think that Solskjaer is going to be far better served surrounded by people like Nicolas Pepe and Lorenzo Pellegrini and those sort of players. I'm not talking about them specific, but those type of players who would perceive Manchester United as a step up and would come here hungry and eager to develop, and that would match the manager really, who is hungry and eager to develop. They would be better signings than a Gareth Bale or a Dybala, who basically are going to come here wanting big money and with big egos, and I don't think that's what Manchester United need. As I said, there's talk that United are in advanced talks with Dybala. That makes me want to cry. Dybala would take up a massive chunk of our transfer budget. He would be a shirt seller. He would be a Galactico. But he's not had a very good season at Juventus. He sort of disappeared because Ronaldo's the big guy now. And he is inconsistent. And he's not what United need. United need grafters. United need up-and-coming talent who are going to come here hungry, wanting to develop. And that's why it's important that we bring those sort of players in. And hopefully we get to see the likes of Chong and Greenwood go up to that level with their hunger that they're going to bring from the youth team, and we can start to build a team. We've got to build a team, and it's got to be united, and it's got to be united in its philosophy and its talent and its desire to learn here at Manchester United, and that's what United need. And it's going to be a long process. We're not going to win the title next year or the year after that, but I want to buy into that. I don't want to buy into the Sanchez signings, the Matic signings, the Lukaku signings. I don't want those sort of signings anymore. Overpaid, overinflated prices, not coming here for the right reasons. I want the hunger. I want the talent. I want the development players to come to Manchester United, and hopefully they will do. I must just bring in a story from yesterday from in relation to Cancelo from he's at Juventus, isn't he, the right back? Interesting, because there's mention of George Mendes being involved in that, and I have said before that I don't get the impression that George Mendes has a very good relationship with Manchester United. Although De Gea is his client, we never and obviously the biggest one was Mourinho. We never bought a George Mendes client, and I can't remember the last one that we did. Was it De Gea? I don't know. So the way I perceived that was that George Mendes, yes, De Gea is my client, but maybe was a bit annoyed that he didn't get that move to Real Madrid, and maybe doesn't have a good relationship with United because he's got a lot of players and we haven't bought them. And especially when you think about the players that he's brought in for Wolves, why would he not be doing that for Manchester United? But I did hear something yesterday, and I can't remember where. I can't remember where it was. I've not put it down. But somebody, and they are quite reputable, so I apologise because I can't think where I've got it from. I'm tempted to think. I can't think where it is. I know it was a podcast. I think it was David Amiol's podcast, which is Calcio Land, I think. So do give it a listen. And it's at David Amiol, at David Amayol. And basically, the interesting thing I took from that, he was talking about Cancelo and the willingness for Juventus to maybe sell him. But he was also saying that George Mendes has a very good relationship with Manchester United. And that's the first I've heard that from anybody credible for a long, long time. So regardless of Cancelo, if we sign him, he's a very good right back, great. But the thing that encouraged me is that if we've got a good relationship with Manchester United, with George Mendes, that could really change things, because maybe we can sign some of his clients. And the first one I'd be looking at would be Ruben Neves at Wolves. I think he's good enough to make that step up. He's Premier League proven, and I think in our midfield he would be a revelation, and we do need a player like that. So that would be very interesting to me. It's also going to be very interesting to see what the situation's going to be with another agent, Mino Raiola. I mean, I spoke about maybe we could do business with Mino Raiola this summer. There's positives and negatives. I suppose the positive would be that we would keep Paul Pogba, and the negative would be that... Sorry, the positive would be that we would keep Paul Pogba. Another positive, Costas Manolas, Raiola is his agent as well, so we wouldn't be able to sign him. I think that would be a positive with regards to centre-backs. So it's interesting. Maybe Mendes and Raiola could have an impact on United's summer. If we can't deal with Raiola, let's deal with Mendes. I did put out a poll. If you're a member of the United Stand, if you go to the homepage, there's a community tab, and we do put polls out there for the members. If you are a member as well, you get access to the emojis. You also get a little badge next to your name. We asked them yesterday, what were their thoughts? Do you think David De Gea will leave this summer? Think with your heart and not with... Sorry, think with your head and not your heart. And interestingly enough, 62% of our members think that David De Gea will leave this summer from Manchester United, which I think is rather interesting. I think it's rather interesting that people think that. I think De Gea might go. I thought Pogba would go, but maybe this Raiola thing will mean not. So anyway, get your comments in below. Smash a like on the video if you're enjoying Transfer Daily. We'll have the Hotometer back for you tomorrow. If you don't know what it is, you're going to love it. 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. But what's your thoughts on Nicolas Pepe? How old is he? I think he's 23. He's definitely not 25. That's a mistake. I'd say about 50 to 60 million for him. Joe Felix, Lorenzo Pellegrini, 22 years of age, £30 million, up-and-coming midfielder. Are those the sort of players you want us to look at? Get in below. What are the sort of players the United should be looking at? Not necessarily distinct players, but the type. Is Ollie right to want the younger, hungry players? Or do you think we actually do need a few experienced world-class players? Get your comments in below, smash a like on the video, and I'll speak to you all later.